All right, now it's time for This League. Whenever we got Scott Campsall here, the Score's director of social, we always try to find a social-friendly topic because the NBA, more than any other North American sports league, always delivers when it comes to drama, soap opera, great topics for this. And this week, we have probably the best one of the year. Yet another Kevin Durant burner scandal, the KD files. For those that don't know, I'll quickly catch up. Essentially, Kevin Durant, allegedly, his burner was discovered, and it was discovered that he made a lot of disparaging comments about past and present teammates like Alperen Sengun and Jabari Smith Jr., used some problematic language. I'll spare you all the details because you can go check out our most recent episode of Unfiltered where we literally explain the entire situation. What I want to get into today with the coach, with John Bennett, is from a coaching perspective, from someone who's been in NBA locker rooms, from someone who's led an NBA locker room who has led a locker room as a head coach in Taiwan, how would you approach this situation, or how do you envision NBA coaches approaching it? And what I mean by that is, okay, so you get back, you're the head coach of a team, you get back from the All-Star break, you obviously see that all this has happened. Do you feel the need to have a conversation with Kevin Durant and say, hey man, we need to talk about this, like, was this actually you? Do you feel the need, or depending on how that conversation goes, to have him address the team? Do you feel the need to know it all, or would you actually think, you know what, this is a social media scandal and I'm not addressing it unless the players bring it to me. I don't want distractions heading into the playoffs.
I mean, if you don't address something like this that's on the periphery of your team, you're allowing it to just grow and take hold of the situation. But if you're in a position of leadership, whether you're a player, front office member, or coaching staff member, I mean, you can't just ignore things and hope they go away. That's like a huge issue in NBA locker rooms, that like everybody knows what the issue is. No one's going to deal with it. And I've seen it happen with teams, or talked about with other peers in other teams too, where everybody knows what's wrong with this team and we're just going to hope that it goes away. That's just not going to end well. It might kind of like get pushed to the side for 20 games, but then it's going to rear its ugly head when it matters most. So, I mean, what you actually do about it, that depends on your relationships with the players in the locker room, with the other coaches, with the front office. I mean, if you're a head coach and you have a star player with a situation like this, if you don't have the trust of your front office, are you just trying to appease them and make everybody happy and quiet the noise down? Or are you saying, F that, we're facing this head on and trying to find solutions? And I think what you really need to go with is face it head on and accept it's going to be uncomfortable. We're not going to all get into a room and have a conversation at the end of it. We're all going to be happy. No one is going to be comfortable after the conversation. Yeah. But if you can create a situation where you can resolve some of the issues at the heart of these alleged messages, that's when you can actually get somewhere. So, you know, whether that be Sengun's defensive liabilities in pick and roll coverage, that's what you're actually trying to address. You're not trying to address the social media aspect, because that can't help you win basketball games. Right.
Do you think even if it is addressed, like if the players believe it was him, or if you have that kind of meeting and he admits it's him or something, do you think a locker room can actually recover from that, given the stakes for a team like Houston that, does need to be kind of all tugging at the rope at the same time for the next 3 months?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I mean, like, it seems like at the time it feels like when these situations happen, oh, it's so awkward. How can they come back from this? It's easier to just move on. It is easier to move on and remove people from the situation. But winning covers a multitude of sins, and everybody wants to win in the end. So if you're able to generate wins when it actually matters in those same situations and scenarios where he was critical of other players, then what's the problem? right? You don't have to love each other. You don't have to be like best friends. But as long as you can find a solution that helps you win those situations or win those possessions, then it doesn't actually matter.
Yeah, I hear you. Scott, so if someone was talking shit about you on
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, athletes, they're just like us.
Any parting thoughts here before we get out of here?
I mean, okay, so I'll preface this by saying, which I've said on the show many times, like I'm a huge KD guy, like one of my favorite basketball players, honestly, ever. Yeah. This is weirdo behavior, and it's tough to defend, you know? Not to expose too much, but we were just talking about this off camera. You know, it's not just like it's a text message situation where like one of his buddies, leaked it. It's like he's on Twitter with some people that are his friends and some people that aren't his friends.
That are just fanboys.
That are just fanboys, which it's like I'm into the public trolling. I'm into him from the KD Trey account, roasting people on Twitter. I love it. But this is like another step, you know? And now that it's starting to like affect his career, I just think it's getting harder and harder to defend KD, I guess. And just like even like I was at All-Star Weekend, whether or not he was like actually upset because this had come out, he looked super bummed.
And he was on his phone the whole time.
Dude,
was he trolling us or was it actually him trying to deal with the fallout of like, oh my God, this is happening?
And I have something to say about that, actually. I got a video of him, on his phone for a prolonged period of time. And people kept stealing it and not crediting us. And I have a real problem with that.
I have a problem with that too.
I wanted to get that out in public now because if you look at any video, including The Ringer had a rundown where they used our clip, didn't credit us or anything. Our clip is everywhere, man. It's in Your Unfiltered, rightfully so. So that's a big issue I
work for the Score.
Yeah, well, you're okay. You got a pass. You're friend of. Yeah. But it was just weird, man. Like, it's just so weird. It's just like, why are you doing this at this stage in your career, you know?
Yeah. I think it just reflects poorly on his character. Yeah. Again, not the fact... Well, yes, the fact that he's talking trash about teammates in a group chat. But I'm also not naive enough to believe, he's the only one. Like, lots of people do that outside of the NBA. People, coworkers do that all the time.
Us right.
So I'm not going to be holier than thou and make it seem like, that's the big issue. But Absolutely. Again, the fact that he would send messages like that to a group chat on X, not a super exclusive group chat, that includes randoms that just so happen to be his fanboys on social media, to me, shows a kind of like disregard for the potential ramifications and consequences that come from this. It does reveal like a kind of character flaw, or at least tells us something about him, and I don't like it. And I think that whether we believe it, like it permanently fractures the locker room, and like John brought up a lot of good points from a coach's point of view and from actually being the only one of us here on these couches that has been in a locker room like that. But I do think that like it says something about him, and whether teams can still win with him and whether it permanently fractures from that point of view, I don't know. But I do know that on a human level, on a personal level, there is no way the guys in that locker room and some of his peers around the league, including some of the guys he has talked about, can go back to thinking about Kevin Durant the way they thought about him a week ago before this came out.
And what's like, totally agree across the board there. And what is so interesting to me too is kind of like he's got this little window left at the end of his career. He's in Houston here trying to like winning is the only like it's if anything short of a championship with him in Houston in this little run here is I think a failure. And just to like also have him be doing this shit on the side is super weird to me. I just did want to ask you one more question. And in this situation, do you feel like KD has to come and apologize to the team?
No. I mean, like, what are we actually talking about? Like, if is he gonna apologize for, like, what is he actually apologizing? It's
like, hey,
it's a great question.
I mean, for hurting someone's feelings.
Yeah.
Is he apologizing for speaking outside of the confines of the team? And I just think.
I'm thinking more from a distraction perspective. Yes, I think the individual acts are not hey, I'm going to address the whole team and be like, sorry, I was a dick to, Şengün. But I just mean I'm sorry that I have let this become, a big thing now.
I think when you're dealing with top tier talent, every top tier talent in the NBA comes with some sort of baggage. And whether they are like the consummate professional, they might get preferential treatment, in one way or another. And that might sour a teammate's feelings about them too. So if you want to play alongside top tier talent, you have to deal with these situations that don't always have to do directly with basketball. Every player that has been like an all-star that I've had the privilege of just even being around has had something that rubs somebody the wrong way, whether or not it was intended or not.
Yeah.
And I just think, like, you know, if you want to have a good time and just like hang out and play professional basketball and earn your check and then go home after round one or not making the playoffs, that's cool. But like, great teams have conflict.
Yeah.
And so you can either say you can let that eat your team alive and just fold together, and blame it on somebody else, or you can try and find a resolution to help yourself and the team win in the future. Now, that might mean like, okay, we get through this year, we get through next year, and then in another year, a player might leave because, you know what, I just am sick of this guy.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
But like, you need each other to win in the next year and year after, year following this one as well.
That's why you're the coach on this panel, JB. Wise words from a wise man. Last thing I'll say on the topic is just that, and I mentioned in the video too, the one thing I didn't like is the way when reporters asked him about it in his first practice after the break, the way he framed it is like almost like it was beneath him, even though he said, I understand why you have to ask the question. He said, you know, I'm not going to get into Twitter nonsense, when it's like, dude, part of your whole shtick, and you've come out and said it before of like, no, I'll reply to everything on Twitter, is part of the reason. The whole reason this mess is here in the first place is because you seem to be addicted to that nonsense. So you can't, when it suits you, be like, oh, I'll reply to everyone and anyone on Twitter. I don't care if there's something out there that I don't like. And then when now you're in some hot water because of it, be like, no, I'm not going to get into Twitter nonsense with you. So that's the only thing I'll say. Again, go check out the Unfiltered episode for a full breakdown of everything. Scott, appreciate you. JB, always appreciate you making the time to come in. I hope Get Off My Dickerson is watching this and commenting on the videos. My last message for KD, as I said in the video, would be just once look in the mirror instead of in here.